Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here on Midday Live. I am Wendy Lai. Our headlines for this afternoon. Kaswa police swoop and arrest 130 suspected criminals at dawn at Gomoa Bujumbura. New Patriotic Party gets new Northern Regional Chairman. And in sports, Isaac Dobe wins World Boxing Organization World Super Bantamweight title. On the international front, North Korea to shut down nuclear test site in May. But I'll start with our stories. And the police in the Central Region have arrested some 130 people suspected to be criminals in a swoop. The early Sunday morning swoop led by the Kaswa Divisional Police Commander ACP David Ajem at Gomoa Bujumbura led to the confiscation of dried leaves suspected to be Indian hemp, tramadol tablets, some powder also suspected to be heroin and cocaine.
Briefing the media, ACP David Ajem said the police made the arrest following intelligence gathered around some criminal activities in the Kaswa enclave in the Central Region. The swoop led to the arrest of 130 people. Among those arrested were 3 suspected criminals who have long been on police wanted list. He stated that the police will not relent on its efforts of ensuring the safety of residents living in Kaswa and appeal to the general public to cooperate with the police by sharing information on the activities of criminals.
So far we have identified about 3 or 4 of them who are on our wanted list, and those who have cases with us that are in the courts. So afterwards we'll profile the others and see if any of them have records with the police. We have entered a new phase in policing in Kaswa, and we are not going to allow any miscreant to make our lives uncomfortable. We will deal with them, and we are coming at them, so they should be careful. If they want to do their things, they should move out of Kaswa, because we will not tolerate them. We will make Kaswa an unpalatable place for them.
And after politics, the popular Northern Regional Chairman, that's Daniel Bugui-Nabu, has lost his position in the just-held NPP Regional Delegates Congress in Tamale. Mohammed Bantima Samba pulled 313 to beat Bugui-Nabu, who obtained 116 votes.
After being trolled to the Tamale Sports Stadium, the venue for the Regional Delegates Congress, with his accident vehicle also towed to the venue ahead of the election on Saturday, Chairman Daniel Bugui-Nabu could not retain his position as the Northern Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party. He polled 116 votes, whilst his closest contender, Mohammed Bantima Samba, polled 312 of the 566 total votes cast. Daniel Bugui-Nabu, after surviving a fatal accident a fortnight ago, managed to get his V8 Prado Land Cruiser to the premises ahead of the election Saturday, May 28, an act that got tongues wagging. The Regional Secretary Sule Salifu, who also doubles as the Northern Regional Coordinator of the Youth Employment Agency, also lost to Sule Sambien. Sule Salifu polled 186 votes, whilst his closest contender, Sule Sambien, polled 228 votes. Idrisu Sunday had 259 votes to take the first vice chairmanship position. Hajia Amama, who is Ghana's ambassador to Dubai, was also unseated by the Northern Regional Coordinator of the School Feeding Program, Felicia Tete, for the second vice chairperson position. Hajia Amama polled 20 votes, while Felicia Tete had 336 votes. Another incumbent, Frederick Tahiru, was also voted out after obtaining 95 votes as against Chamuna Gazi's 133 votes in the regional youth organizer position.
To other stories, the Ghana Cocoa Board is targeting to assist cocoa farmers produce more than 1,000 kilos on a hectare of cocoa farm instead of the 450 kilos they're currently producing. The move is to enhance cocoa production and improve farmers' livelihoods. Here's a report by Ibrahim Abubakar.
Ghana's cocoa production has declined over the past years due to bad farming practices and disease infestation on cocoa farms, among other challenges. The country only produces 450 kilos of cocoa per hectare compared to other countries such as Malaysia and Indonesia, where farmers produce over 2,000 kilos of cocoa per hectare. Cocoa Board has introduced the hand pollination program to help farmers increase their yields and also enable the country meet its 1 million metric tons cocoa production target. Deputy Executive Director in charge of Cocoa Health and Extension Division at Cocoa Board, Reverend Dr. Emmanuel Hianklote, says the intervention is expected to assist farmers produce more than 1,000 kilos of cocoa per hectare.
When you pollinate, you get more. But with the pollination, you have to do the pruning, protect the pores that are produced, and then you can make so much from your farm. So cocoa farming is a productive, in fact a profitable business. We want our farmers to understand that cocoa farming is not a way of life. It's a business. Give your best to the farm and the farm will give its best to you.
This year, Cocoa Board intends to engage 20,000 pollinations to work on 28,400 hectares of cocoa farms to increase the country's production level. Dr. Hianklote entreated cocoa farmers to approach farming as a business and not just a way of life. He spoke at a ceremony to present premium payment to cocoa farmers by Nyonkopa Cocoa Buying Company Limited, Adunkwa, in the Central Region. Beneficiary farmers are from Obuasi, Dunkwa, Ayamfuri, Manso, and other cocoa communities in the country. The package is part of the company's contribution to support cocoa farmers and improve livelihoods in the rural economy. Head of Cocoa Sustainability at Nyonkopa, Robert Asugri, said the company is training cocoa farmers on best practices to improve their yields and livelihoods.
Farmers who are contributing to our growth, if their children are going to school, we have some amount of money we give them to support their children's education. And again, if you contribute to our growth by giving us cocoa for a certain number of years, and when you attain the age of 60 years, we also pay you pension from that point onwards until you die. It is sustainable because it's part of our strategy.
A cocoa farmer, Samuel Owusu, lauded Cocoa Board's move to pollinate and prune their farms for increased yield.
Away from that story, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Communication, Kenneth Ashibe, has backed calls for the Ghana Beyond Aid agenda. He charged the private sector to help accelerate the pace of sustainable development and inclusive growth.
President Akufo-Addo has on several platforms articulated his vision of Ghana Beyond Aid to set the country on the path of economic prosperity.
Ghana Beyond Aid is meant to be more than a slogan. It is meant to propel us into the frame of mind that will quicken the pace of our development. It is meant to change our mindset from one of dependency to one of achieving our destiny. It is meant to put us in charge of our own affairs and make us truly independent. Above all, Ghana Beyond Aid will give us the respect and dignity we deserve.
Speaking at the Economic Governance Conference under the auspices of the Institute of the Chartered Economists of Ghana, Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Communication tasked the private sector to play a leading role in ending the cycle of dependence on foreign aid.
Project document called the MMIP is a 5-year project document, and in it, when I saw it the very first time, what I said to them at the validation workshop was it was bound to fail if we didn't change it. 70% of the resources to fund that, we're hoping that that is going to come out from donor partners. Whilst it is these donor partners themselves who are coming and taking all the resources away from us. We need $450 million to clean up the Ankobra. But how much gold was mined in Ankobra? How much taxes came to Ghana? We need to wake up, and as private sector, we need to start holding public sector to account.
Group Chief Executive Officer of CDH Financial Holdings, Emmanuel Idu-Sarkodie, explained that the private sector is an important player in making the Ghana Beyond Aid vision a reality.
We are building a railway line from Accra to Akosombo, and we expect economic activity to take place. There's no private sector involvement. We don't know where the rail line is going, where the warehouses will be, what we need to build, nothing. So we cannot even prepare for it. It's also important that the private sector increases this level of involvement and participation in governance to engender political accountability. This can be achieved through creating and financing non-partisan civil society and advocacy groups.
The civil service says it has begun a series of activities aimed at rebranding and repositioning the service to promote efficiency. At a performance agreement and award ceremony here in Accra, head of the service, Nana Ajekum Jamina, noted the rebranding agenda will enable the service regain a positive image to facilitate the socio-economic goals.
Head of Civil Service Nana Ajekum Jamina also expressed worry about unauthorized use of the ministerial enclave as a thoroughfare. He said the service would collaborate with the Accra Metropolitan Assembly to decongest the area and also improve upon security.
There are so many people hustling, directors, ministers left and right. People hawking, taxi drivers, trotro drivers come. You won't find that in any country.
Secretary to Cabinet Mercy Deborah Kakari, who represented the Vice President, challenged civil servants to come up with innovative ways of overcoming inadequacy of resources. The Chief Director of the Roads and Highway Ministry, Godwin Brooke, who was adjudged the best performing Chief Director in 2017, said the performance management systems promote teamwork.
May we as Chief Directors continue to collaborate and support each other to deliver the services required to attain the goals set out for our national development agenda.
Other speakers at the event agreed regular training would equip civil servants with relevant competences for efficient performance of their duties. The performance contract for the year was signed by ministers and their chief directors.
The Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations is expected to submit a draft policy to Parliament seeking to bring all organizations to implement standard workplace safety and regulations. At an inauguration of the Joint Fire Safety Task Force in Tema, the Minister, Ignatius Bafo Ewa, said the policy will prevent hundreds of occupational accidents recorded in the industries.
In a speech read on behalf of the minister, the chief director at the Factory and Inspectorate Department, Fred Ohene Mensah, said the ministry considers this as proactive approach to save property and lives.
Policy will ensure that a single standard is set for proper management of health issues and all over the country, as opposed to the current regime where they are fragmented.
He added that building good cooperation with safety managers can also address all forms of workplace safety. According to the Tema Fire Service, so far 100 companies in the industrial area have instituted good safety practices. Safety of employees at workplaces has also improved after a year-long monitoring of operations of the 100 companies. Tema Fire Service Commander said destructive fires have reduced over the period and the service is still tackling market fires with intensive education.
They will augment the work of those who are already in the system. Apart from that, what we are seeing there, that is the Tema Industrial Area Safety Task Force that has been formed. It's also another way of trying to reach to the Ghanaian public on fire safety issues.
The 40-member Joint Fire Safety Task Force are made up of 5 personnel and others from the various security agencies.
The Trades Union Congress has organized a cleanup exercise to rid the Central Business District of filth. The exercise also forms part of activities marking this year's Midday celebrations.
Members were drawn from the 18 affiliates of the Trades Union Congress. They began cleaning the precincts of the Trades Union Congress and its surroundings. Others cleaned the gutters in front of the Accra Technical University. Later, the team moved to the Tudu Market to clean the shoulders of the road. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly provided receptacles to collect the refuse. The Greater Accra Regional Secretary of the Trades Union Congress, Frida Frimpong, said the exercise to mark this year's May Day celebrations.
We looked at the theme for the May Day, and one of the goals is to ensure that we have clean sanitation and water, and also health and well-being. So we realized that we most of part of Accra is engulfed with filth.
She again urged the various local authorities to collaborate with the TUC to rid the city of filth.
We're so expecting the state authorities, especially the local government authorities, to help us do this exercise. I'm sure that already the government has it on its agenda to clean the city, to make Accra a cleaner city.
This year's celebration is on the theme Sustainable Development Goals and Decent Work Agenda. The Trade Union Congress last week indicated plans of engaging stakeholders to create an enabling environment for workers under this Decent Work Agenda policy.
You're still watching Midday Live. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying. You're still watching Midday Live. To other stories now. Let's focus on mission stories. And residents of Bao in the East Gonja municipality of the Northern Region drink water from the same source with cattle. Stanley Nible will report children under age 5 are the most affected, suffering from several waterborne diseases.
The Bao community is located about some 16 kilometers from the East Gonja municipal capital, Salaga. The community is deprived and neglected. Residents say living a healthy life depends on divine intervention. Social amenities are non-existent. Water, one of the essential commodities for human survival, is hard to get. For decades, residents of Bao and 3 other adjoining communities depend on this dam. Over 1,000 residents drink water from here. In fact, it is a source of hope for even the unborn.
The polluted water behind me is what sustains the lives of 4 adjoining communities, namely Bao, Kumbrupe, Chokosi and Bagabaga, all in the East Gonja district of the Northern Region. Pregnant women as well as children depend on this for their survival. And the consequences that come with this is enormous. This is simply because they have no alternative. Residents have had to contend with cattle over this water.
This is how the water we drink looks like. The color never changes. Our skins itch whenever we bath with it, but we have no option.
They never wish to see the dry season because the negative effects of using this water is devastating. Residents say it has odor, but do not boil it before drinking. Again, residents do not have the resources to buy a purification agent to make the water clean. Expectant mothers and children under age 5 suffer complications the most.
We don't boil the water before drinking. Adults and children experience stomach upset when we drink from the dam.
In the face of danger, access to healthcare is a challenge. The nearest health facility is under Resource Chips compound at Kafaba, 14 kilometers away. Residents say the East Gonja Municipal Assembly has not been up to task in addressing their water challenge.
The water situation at Bao requires immediate government intervention to prevent further sicknesses. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Bao.
And residents of Gaipe and the Nanuma South District of the Northern Region have devised means to assist health personnel to provide care to pregnant women. Stanley Nible will again reports the area is earmarked as a chip zone but have no physical structure.
The Garipe community is inhabited by people from the Kunkumba tribe and are mainly farmers. The community is about 20 minutes drive from Wulensi, the Nanumba South District capital. Access to healthcare is a challenge. Garipe and 4 other communities have been demarcated for a chief zone but have no physical structure. Nurses are, however, deployed to provide healthcare to residents daily. For more than 2 years, healthcare was being administered to residents under trees until the community intervened by providing this place. But this intervention is not enough. The structure serves as an outpatient department, delivery room, consulting and pregnancy examining rooms, as well as storage facility. The room is stuffy and gets crowded whenever patients visit the facility for healthcare. Pregnant women and nursing babies suffer the most.
I don't know how to describe this structure, but this is what is serving residents of Garikpe and beyond as a CHIPS compound. The heat alone emanating from this room adds up to their sicknesses.
This structure, even the heat that is blowing right now, and look at the drugs displayed. The potency of the drug is at stake. We have CHIPS compound, we call CHIPS compound under trees and CHIPS compound, but this one, one cannot even classify as to whether it's a CHIPS compound under veranda or maybe a CHIPS compound behind somebody's house.
In the midst of lack of resources, health personnel here are giving up their best to save lives, but their efforts are being hindered.
Since when this clinic started, that was 2016. In fact, there has never been something like motorbike given to the clinic for us to run outreach programs. We are using our own Mapuka bikes, and you know the northern region, the roads in the northern region here, and then using Mapuka bike to access some of these unaccessible places is something that is hectic.
Health personnel manning the structure say expectant mothers do not often patronize the facility when they are due to deliver.
A woman giving birth in the house will take pride over the colleague who has gone to deliver in the health facility. So, I delivered in the house. That shows how strong or how healthy I am. But now, we at the grassroots level, it's our responsibility, and we have taken it upon ourselves, and we are doing the sensitization that those are the things of the past. They should try and come. They shouldn't sit in the house to deliver so that they will take pride for delivering in the house.
Weighing is done under trees. Lack of accommodation for healthcare givers also impedes service delivery, especially for night cases. The assemblyman for the area is one of the main opinion leaders who often meets to discuss means to improve healthcare in the area. He expressed worry about the difficulties residents endure to access healthcare. A resident from one of the hinterland communities bemoaned government neglect.
MP and this year didn't know
Why do we have these CEs and MPs? Don't they see the suffering we are going through?
District Chief Executive for Nanumba South attributes the district's inability to put up a decent CHIPS facility to lack of funds. He said the assembly has several pressing projects, but inadequate funding has delayed their completion. The poverty rate at Garikpe is no different from other communities in the northern region. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Garikpe, Nanumba South.
And more on healthcare. Construction of a CHIPS compound to provide healthcare for residents of Buba Liga in the Nanumba South district of the northern region has stalled for more than 6 months. Residents resort to herbs for their healthcare.
Bungbaliga literally means cultivate little and reap enough. It's one of the deprived communities in the Nanumba South district. Development has slowed down for years. Access to healthcare remains a challenge. Residents resort to herbal treatments. In 2016, a contract was awarded for construction of a community-based health planning and services compound facility, but this stalled when it got to the roofing level. The structure comprises of an outpatient department, OPD, consulting and maternity rooms, staff accommodation among others. 500 bags of cement procured for the completion of the structure have been kept with individuals who have concerns.
The cement is kept in 2 houses. One is somehow very close, but the other one is just like that. In fact, always, that is why I was calling the contractor to inform him that if this project cannot be continued, then he should tell me so that I can take some preventive measures, like if we could take the cement from here to Ulinse to look for a convenient place where we can or we could keep the cement. When this particular project is started, the number of bags of cement that are stolen here, in fact, is too much.
The mission team was at the project site. The contractor is working on 12 other projects so hardly visits old projects he has commenced. Construction of nurses bungalow at Juali, 6 kilometers from Bungbaliga, by the same contractor has stalled. Attempt to reach the contractor has not been successful. Chief Executive Officer for Nanumba South said the assembly has plans for the completion of the project. Opening up access to improved healthcare would be required for Bungbaliga and 8 adjoining communities to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 3. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Bungbaliga, Nanumba South.
And here in the Greater Accra region, I am Wendy Lai. You're still watching Midday Live. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying. The Allied Health Professions Council has called for urgent action to discontinue the increasing abuse of tramadol, a strong pain reliever which has become a substance of abuse among the youth. Registrar of the Council, Dr. Samuel Yawopoko, fears the continuous abuse of the drug can lead to physical dependence and withdrawal symptoms with dire public health consequences. Here's a report by Benjamin Edu.
Tramadol, a restricted medication used to treat moderate to severe pain, has become almost a street drug for the treatment of normal pain like headache, sometimes without approval from health practitioners. Despite the serious side effects including seizures, decreased alertness and drug addiction, its use has sharply gone up among the young generation because of the reported excitement of prolonged ejaculation. Speaking at the 9th graduation of the Royal Anne College of Health in Kumasi, Registrar of the Allied Health Professions Council called for pragmatic steps to curb the abuse of tramadol. Dr. Samuel Yawopoko said the country is sitting on a time bomb on the misuse of drugs.
I want to encourage you to educate the Ghanaian population about the dangers of misuse of drugs, particularly tramadol. Very soon, the hospitals will be flooded with people with both kidney and liver problems because of the associated dangers from some of these drugs, and also even some of the herbal preparations that, are abundant around every day.
The Royal Anne College of Health graduated 243 laboratory technicians. Rector of the college, Annabella Jemana-Boaji, said challenges in the non-placement of students from private institutions have been addressed.
Non-placement of nursing and midwifery graduates from private institutions have been addressed by the government of Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. Graduates from both public and private training institutions have equal opportunities to be employed in public sector.
And 60 young people in Manso, Dubia and adjoining communities have been trained to educate residents on malaria and preventive measures. The community malaria champions are to augment the work of health workers in the fight against malaria. A report by Beatrice Spiugabra.
The 60 community malaria champions were trained by Asanko Gold Mine Company in collaboration with Johns Hopkins University for the company's malaria control program. As part of this year's World Malaria Day activities, Asanko Gold Mine Company held a malaria screening exercise for residents in the 27 communities of the mine's catchment area. Acting Executive General Manager of Asanko Gold, Shadrach Enu, reiterated the economic loss to the company and the nation when malaria affects the working class. The company has introduced a number of measures to help reduce malaria infections in its area.
This program is geared towards reducing the population of mosquitoes within the mine site as well as within the districts. It will also include the provision of insecticide treated nets and keep on educating people to make sure they are using the insecticide treated net.
The community malaria champions will move from house to house to educate residents on malaria and preventive measures. District Director of Health Services for Amansia West, Dominic Dobin, explained malaria cases have gone down in the district for the past year, attributing the feat to a number of interventions being spearheaded by the Ghana Health Service.
Previously, when you go to hospital and they feel like it's malaria, then they treat. But now, when you go to hospital, we take your blood check it, find out whether the malaria parasites are in your bride before we treat. The figures have come down. So we have eliminated all non-malaria cases which previously were being treated as malaria.
It's now time for sports, and Therinyan is standing by to tell you all about Isaac's Storm Dobe's win. So stay with us. Let's start with our international news story. And Liberia's former president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, has publicly spoken for the first time about what she intends to use her time as she settles into life after presidency. The former Nobel Prize laureate and Africa's first democratically elected woman president said she was going to continue with issues of women empowerment whilst advancing the cause of good governance across Africa. She said she will work with a small team of people to establish the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf Presidential Center for Women and Development, designed to support women as agents of change makers and makers of peace and drivers of progress. To other stories, more than 40 members of the Tuareg community have been killed in 2 separate attacks by suspected jihadists in northeastern Mali. Officials say the attacks happened in the remote Menaka region on Thursday and Friday. They believe to have been carried out by revenge after Tuareg attacks on jihadist bases in recent weeks. North Korea's nuclear test site will close in May, according to a statement from the South Korean president's office. A spokesperson said the closure of the Pyongyang site would be done in public, and foreign experts from South Korea and the U.S. will be invited to watch. Scientists have said the site may have partially collapsed in September. On Friday, North Korean leader and South Korea's president agreed to work to rid the Korean peninsula of nuclear weapons. Their summit came after months of warlike rhetoric from the north. Next, we have entertainment. And the much publicized Vodafone Ghana Music Awards Celebration Jam came off on Saturday night with thrilling performances as well.
Energy comes from within, energy comes from God. Energy actually comes from good health. If you're not in good health, you can't exude energy.
The art on stage was just amazing. What is the inspiration?
Real life experiences. So as artists, I believe that if we do get the opportunity and time, we can exhibit, because what we do is music and arts. If time permits, or if you do will, inculcate the arts into the music, because it's music and arts. And I see that people love it, you know? Yeah.
Nominations in the BET
and
all that. What does that mean to you?
It means a lot to me, in the sense that I'm not the only artist in Ghana, neither am I the only artist in the world, but so far I'm one of the artists that the world is looking out for and the world appreciates. And that gives me a lot of encouragement to keeping on. Yes.
Where does Stonebwoy want to see himself in the next 5 or 10 years?
Modeling in the next 5 or 10 years, I think that I pray to be alive. I pray to continue giving the people creative musical pieces so they can enjoy it. And ultimately pray to go around the world with it, representing for Ghana, representing for the voiceless. You know, my music comes with message. My music comes with proper representation of the youth. So I pray to continue to be the youth ambassador and to carry my country along. And at the end of the day,
so Stonebwoy spoke to TV3 at that same event, which is the Vodafone Ghana Music Awards Jam. He was telling us about his BET nomination once again. Now let's go back to our earlier story on the Vodafone Ghana Music Awards Celebration Jam.
Certainly, it was an official shutdown party in Accra as thousands of music enthusiasts thronged the Independence Square in Accra to support their favorite artist. Top Ghanaian sensational musicians graced the occasion with thrilling performances. The event was to honor enterprising awardees who helped to make the VGMA a success and to finally close this year's 19th edition of the Vodafone Ghana Music Awards. All artists billed to perform came with their A game and gave patrons nothing but the best. The charged crowd passionately sang along the performance. The VGMA celebration jam will certainly be remembered.
And now to end the news, let's take a quick look at the headlines again. Kaswa police in the Central Region have launched a dawn swoop and arrested 130 suspected criminals at Gomwa Bujumburam in the Central Region. The New Patriotic Party has a new Northern Regional Chairman. He is Mohammed Bantima Samba, who pulled 312 votes to unseat Daniel Bugri Nabu, who pulled 116 votes. Ghana's Isaac Dogbe has won the World Boxing Organization World Super Bantamweight title. He knocked out his opponents from Mexico in a bout in Philadelphia in USA last night. And on the international front, North Korea to shut down nuclear test sites in May, according to a statement from South Korea's presidential office. And that's all in this edition. Do have a good afternoon. I am Wendy Lai. Enjoy the rest of our programs. Thanks for watching.